Yabba-dabba-dabba-doo, it's the Mike Kelly Shorter Than Short podcast for you.
This is the Shorter Than Short podcast with Mike Kelly.
Please welcome the star of the show, your host, Mike DJ Kelly.
The red light's on as we go live at Podcast HQ with the latest Mike DJ Kelly Shorter Than Short podcast and the special Politicians Are to Blame for Everything edition.
On this week's podcast.
Coming up, my amazing digital friend Joyce, fake showbiz news, recommend a pod, charities, fish and chips, Lampost, Gary Lineker, elite falcons, Prof Lord Robert Winston, the good doctor, Alvin Blossom, Kerning, bottled water, plus lots of stuff you don't know that you don't know until you know.
Live across the universe, it's the Mike DJ Kelly Shorter Than Short podcast.
Morning, Joyce. First time back after Christmas. Did you have a good one?
Yes, it was lovely. Me and Mr. Shouty went to Bengal Brasserie for a curry on Christmas Eve. I had the burley curry special. It was lovely.
Suppose you and Shouty had a few beers. Anyway, where was my invite?
We knew you'd be busy socializing and DJing, so we went off on one without you. Anyway, as it was Christmas, I was on the snake bites, that's Guinness and cider. At the end of the meal they offered a drink on the house, so I had a creme de menthe with ice.
This is the Shorter Than Short Mike Kelly podcast.
I'm Mike Kelly with the latest Shorter Than Short news. Our top story today is the last chance to buy an Amaze house draw raffle ticket. Bottled Royal Deeside mineral water from Waitrose recalled over risk it contains glass. Middle East demand for elite falcons is driving illegal trade of British birds. Tressa Burke, a disability rights campaigner from Glasgow, has rejected a top honour over the intolerable state of affairs for disabled people in the UK. New road scheme in Headingley leaves cricket and rugby officials questioning if fans will be able to get to games. New VPN, virtual private network product to keep you safe while surfing the internet, to be launched by Durex, a name you know you can trust. Production of Ukrainian Nemirov vodka continues to flow to Tesco's and Sainsbury's as the company copes with the realities of 4 years of war. Zach Polinsky of the Green Party is offering voters fantasy solutions, says the head of the Fabian Society. That's the Fabian Society, a UK-based left-leaning socialist think tank and membership organisation that is a founding part of the Labour Party. That's it, you're up to date with all the news that is news this hour. I'm Mike Kelly for STS News.
This is the Shorter Than Short podcast with Mike Kelly.
And what's out there on those social media sites? A non-open hole before it's let loose on creating art and music and stealing jobs. Can we just get AI to sort out the important stuff for mankind? So far on my list, in no particular order: cure cancer, end world poverty, make a printer that connects and works when you want it to. Rev Philip Green: my dad is travelling by train from Alton in Hampshire to Malton in Yorkshire today. Are there any other pairs of stations whose names differ by a single letter? Julia Grace: it's that time of year again where lots of journalists take a fortnight off and then arrive back at work the day after New Year's Day and announce that the NHS is suddenly in crisis. They should be in A&E departments now and not wait until the 2nd of January. John Fugelsang: bragging that you passed your 3rd dementia test is a great way of telling us they've made you take 3 dementia tests. Dr Robert Bowen: Alf Dubs, the Labour peer who escaped the Nazis as a boy, says the UK Home Secretary is unnecessarily hardline on asylum seekers. Rackle.pg8: at Trainline is charging £108 to change my ticket to a train just 1 hour later and still off peak, so I bought a new ticket for £20 instead. Whitney Invit: Can libraries please host events for working adults? I too would like to do Lego, crafts, puzzle races. I am a single woman fully supporting herself, therefore I'm not available on Wednesdays at 1 p.m. And on a pinhole, having a 1 hour plus commute is never worth it. I don't care how much extra money you earn or how many podcasts you listen to on the way. Spending such a significant portion of your life simply going to and from work is a waste of life.
This is the Shorter Than Short podcast with Mike Kelly.
It's not my fault you've ended up here listening to this. Blame the algorithm and AI. But while you're here, why not tell a friend or two about the Mike DJ Kelly Shorter Than Short podcast show and show them where they can access it so we can get them listening as well. If you want to get in touch about anything to do with the Shorter Than Short podcast show, please connect and follow. We're on most social media sites at Mike DJ Kelly.
This is the Shorter Than Short podcast with Mike Kelly.
And in our We Want Him Back on the Telly spot this week, it's Professor Lord Robert Winston, who starred in shows such as The Late Late Night Show with James Corden, Jamie's Dream School, and many more, including the long-running Child of Our Time. Professor Winston is a Professor of Science and Society at Imperial College, London, and an IVF pioneer, and we just want him back on the telly. And talking about TV, there was a promotion on ITV for Good Morning Britain over Christmas. What a lot of facelifts and tucks in that commercial. I wonder if ITV pays for their younger looking faces. Caught the ITV evening news on New Year's Eve. It was about New Year's Eve fireworks in other parts of the world and what they're doing at midnight in Scotland and a snow warning, but no news. Then there's the adverts, they're getting worse, corporate begging charities, and the same old repeat year after year, big brand commercials. It's got to a point that I retune when the adverts come on. You might think I'm having a dig at the commercial channels and not the BBC. That's because I very rarely watch anything on the BBC. One show which I did see was Celebrity Mastermind, which was so bad I had to watch another episode just to confirm, but it was worse. Oh, and I did watch the Spinning Chairs show with Michael McIntyre, where they gave away £36,000 of licence payers' money to charity. My wife is watching a show called The Good Doctor, a gruesome American production which carries out some wacky procedures. There's never any mention of how much it will cost for the treatments or if the insurance will cover it. No concerns about being able to pay at all. Just does not seem realistic to me.
Yabba dabba dabba doo, it's the Mike Kelly Shorter Than Short podcast for you.
Joyce, have you anything to add?
Not on TV but on radio. I think there are too many commercials for gambling, things like bingo, lottery, then all the sporting gambling. Should there be a watershed so you can have the radio on in the car when the kids are listening without being bombarded by this type of advertising?
I see on TV there is now a 9 p.m. watershed for junk TV food adverts, so they cannot show pictures of chocolate, pizza and crisps, but they can still advertise the brands as long as they don't show pictures of the junk food.
This is the Shorter Than Short Mike Kelly podcast.
And while we're talking of radio, let's say R.I.P. for the great, funny and entertaining Alvin Blossom. Alvin presented shows on BBC Radio Leeds from 1978 to 1994, and he was landlord of the former Shoulder of Mutton pub on Leeds Road in Thackley. During his time at the pub, Bloss started what's now called the Thackley Trumpet as a pub flyer.
This is the Shorter Than Short podcast with Mike Kelly.
Today's do-gooders are turninglivesaround.co.uk. Our team work to prevent homelessness and empower people to believe they can change their lives and live independently within sustainable communities. Providing bespoke solutions for those faced with homelessness homelessness or in difficulty, we give them a sense of purpose and help them realise they have the power to change their lives. Our solutions are unique because our clients are, but all have the ambition to create sustainable and successful communities for everyone. As well as housing solutions, we also offer employment, training and work at one of our social enterprises. Find out everything you need to know at their website at turninglivesaround.co.uk.
This is the Shorter Than Short podcast with Mike Kelly.
Today's music quiz features a 1970s classic hit, What's the Song and Who Performed It? The Morning Sun, When It's In Your Face, really shows your age, but that don't worry me none, in my eyes you're everything. I laughed at all of your jokes, my love you didn't need to coax. Name the song, or the group, or both.
I know it's the Osmonds and lovely Donny Osmond and Crazy Horses.
The Mike DJ Kelly Shorter Than Short podcast.
Never mind the bottled Royal D-side mineral water issue at Waitrose, this is bigger. People who drink bottled water every day may be ingesting an extra 90,000 microplastic particles annually, according to a new review of scientific research by researchers from the Concordia University in Montreal, Canada. The review analysed more than 140 scientific studies and found that on average individuals ingest between 39,000 and 52,000 microplastic particles per year. Those who rely on bottled water consume around 90,000 more particles annually compared with people who drink tap water, but still no warning notices on the bottles.
Mike Kelly.
If you're new to the Mike DJ Kelly Shorter Than Short podcast, you can still hear all previous episodes by just searching or shouting the Mike DJ Kelly Shorter Than Short podcast. You can also catch me on BCB 106.6 FM on a Tuesday at midday. That's at bcbradio.co.uk.
This is the Shorter Than Short podcast with Mike Kelly.
And in our Here's Something You Don't Know spot, what is kerning? Kerning is the process of fine-tuning the horizontal spaces between specific pairs of letters to create the optical illusion of even spacing. Typeface designers build to default kerning pairs. Good kerning goes unnoticed, guiding the reader's eye smoothly through the text, while poor kerning cause awkward gaps or overlaps that disrupt readability and look unprofessional.
This is the Shorter Than Short podcast with Mike Kelly.
So who is Fred Olsen? It refers to a Norwegian-founded family-owned group of companies primarily known for its cruise line, Fred Olsen Cruise Lines, which offers smaller ship cruises with unique destinations, focused itineraries from the UK. Beyond cruising, the larger Fred Olsen Group also invests in offshore energy, logistics, travel and other sectors, maintaining a long maritime heritage dating back to 1848. The actual Thomas Frederick Olsen, born 1st of January 1929, is a Norwegian shipping magnate and chairman of the companies. He is also the fourth generation running the Fred Olsen Group, founded by his great-grandfather, Petja Olsen, and named after his grandfather, Thomas Frederick Olsen.
Fred Olsen has been called the Norwegian Howard Hughes for his great wealth and avoidance of publicity. I wanted to say about corn as nobody knows what it is made from. Corn is a popular brand of meat-free food made from mycoprotein, a natural protein derived from a fermented fungus called Fusarium venenatum, making it a sustainable, high-fiber, and low-saturated fat alternative to meat, suitable for vegetarians and vegans, with products mimicking various meats like mince, sausages, and nuggets.
This is the Shorter Than Short podcast with Mike Kelly.
More from the social media sites. The Rejoin EU party, UK economy since Brexit. Gas up 94.1%, electric up 78%, fuel up 49.3%, hotels up 37.8%, rent up 25%, food up 25%, average earnings down 2.8%. That's why we need to rejoin. That's why we are running in 2026. Will you support us? Simon Calder, Airport drop-off fees league table, yesterday topped by many airports at £7. Today, Bristol makes audacious break for the summit with an £8.50 fee. Tomorrow, Gatwick soars to the top, up from £7 to £10. And from nowhere, London City pops in at third with £8. Best movie moments. John Travolta ran 2 miles a day and danced for 3 hours daily to get in shape for Saturday Night Fever. He trained with Sylvester Stallone's coach from Rocky, who ran Travolta like he was a fighter. He dropped 20 pounds and the results were legendary. Marco Foster, the most important thing to remember about Venezuela is that Donald Trump is a paedophile who is desperate for us to talk about anything other than his best friend, Jeffrey Epstein. Tony Martin, I'm seriously starting to question the credibility of the FIFA Peace Prize. Amy Vanderpool, you cannot watch this clip of Trump explaining that the US will run Venezuela now and not see a mentally ill old man who thinks he's in the middle of a hostile takeover in business. Rubio's face says it all. Trump is obviously ill and should not be running the United States. Sophie Socket, 1. Dubai is basically Canary Wharf with sunshine. It's Benidorm without the throw-ups and the cowboy hats. 2. Every single British person that has moved there appears to be a complete bellend. Dave Goulson, 50 new houses going up on Greenfield site near my tiny village, not a solar panel in sight, no infrastructure, almost no public transport, pig ugly to boot. Why are we doing this?
This is the Shorter Than Short Mike Kelly podcast.
Here's something to think about. Now that most young people cannot afford to buy houses, who is going to look after them when they get older? Current system is when you get old and you need to, say, go into a nursing home, the state takes that money back from your property at some point. But if you do not have any property, the state is going to have to pay all the costs. The Charities, Mungos and Salvation Army are already saying is a marked increase of homeless pensioners living in cars and on the streets because they cannot afford rents and because affordable social housing is unavailable, and local council cutbacks do not see these people as a priority any longer. Doom and gloomy it may sound, but the situation is getting worse. It's the politicians and government who need to sort out the UK housing crisis and stop property becoming privately owned and expensive to rent.
Yabba dabba dabba doo, it's the Mike Kelly Shorter Than Short podcast for you.
And while we have our thinking caps on, what about companies that produce products that only last a short while and then have to be thrown away? So companies are ever keen to be seen going green and net zero and watching their carbon footprints, but why not make things that are designed to last and can be repaired when they go wrong? I know there are life cycle assessments that companies use to quantify the environmental impact of the product from cradle to grave, which includes modelling the end-of-life stage, whether it's reuse, recycling, energy recovery or landfill disposal. At the same time, I feel too many computers, hairdryers, fridges, washing machines, etc. are going to the tip.
What is a thinking cap? Is it like those old rubber swimming caps?
Thinking cap is a metaphor for different approaches. The 6 thinking hats, different coloured hats, blue for control, white for facts, red for emotions, green for creativity, yellow for optimism, black for caution, represent specific thinking modes, not a physical object.
I was looking forward to a new hat. How boring. I'm going to continue planning this year's holiday.
Oh yay? And where are you going?
I'm planning on a hiking and youth hosteling holiday. I want to get fit. And before you say anything, there are no age restrictions for youth hosteling.
Abroad or in the UK?
Starting at Whitby, it's in a mansion next to the Abbey. It does unlimited breakfast and has a bar, and there's 20% off if you book in January. I'm working my way across to the West Coast, finishing in Liverpool as I want to go see the Lawnmower Museum at Southport.
Southport, that's not too far from Blackpool, and Blackpool is in the news. Hundreds of families in one of England's poorest neighbourhoods will be evicted under a £90 million plan described by critics as a mass dispersion of vulnerable people. 400 homes in Blackpool will be bulldozed this summer and replaced with 230 new properties under a levelling up proposal signed off by Rishi Sunak's government. The area has more than 800 people, about 250 of them children, who are in the poorest tenth of the population of England, according to official documents. The Reverend Matthew Lockwood, the leader of Beacon Church, said residents were bewildered, angry and distraught and risked being made homeless in a mass dispersion of statistically some of the most vulnerable people in the country. Anyway, why are they knocking down 400 homes and only building 230?
This is the Shorter Than Short podcast with Mike Kelly.
Fake Showbiz News at Fake Showbiz News. Arise Sasweep, veteran kids TV favourite, receives a knighthood in the New Year's honours. Rick Astley says if you're after an autobiography that contains very little details about the years 1992 to 2008, his memoir should be right up your street. Sir Rod Stewart says hot water bottles may warn against using boiling water, but he's been putting boiling water in for 5 decades and never had a problem. New study finds 92% of people who boast on social media that they've stopped paying the BBC licence fee on principle have done no such thing. They're just saying it to sound hard, said report author Mark Pembridge.
Shorter Than Short podcast.
Don't forget, my pod-picking friends, if you want to get in touch about anything to do with the Shorter Than Short podcast show, please use the following to contact us, and if you have any stories, gossip, jokes or anything for the next episode, do connect and follow at MIKEDJKELLY on Blue Sky Social. Please do follow, and if you have time, it would be appreciated if you could give us a review on any of the usual feedback sites. Great news!
Just 10 minutes to the end of the show.
This is the Shorter Than Short podcast with Mike Kelly.
Guess the celebrity. Born on the 17th of December 1946, he was raised in Suffolk and Shropshire and educated at Adams Grammar School before working for radio stations in New Zealand and Australia. He returned to the UK in 1971 to join the BBC, initially working for BBC Radio 4 as a continuity announcer and newsreader, and then joining BBC Radio 2 in 1972, also reading the news and announcing, as well as presenting a number of music programmes. He left BBC Radio 2 in January 1976 and joined BBC Radio 1 in May of the same year. Between 1976 and 1993, he worked at BBC Radio 1, presenting the station's weekday mid-morning show. For most of this time, he was a regular presenter of Top of the Pops, and he was the first presenter of BBC Two's Food and Drinks programme in 1982. Who is he?
This is the Shorter Than Short podcast with Mike Kelly.
I'm guessing A&E departments will be busy at this time of year with people taking down Christmas decorations. No, not from the indoor tree, but the outside lights hanging from the gutter or festooned across the roof. Somebody will fall down when not using a ladder correctly and end up in hospital. I read recently about one fella who lost his life putting up a flag. And if you remember Rod Hull of the Emu fame, he fell off the ladder while trying to fix his home TV aerial during a football match. Ladders are dangerous things. Do a risk assessment before using said appliance.
Have you noticed that the roads are a lot darker than they used to be? It's ever since the council replaced all the street lights with those new very tall ones with small white lights at the top instead of the bright yellow sodium ones. The stars are brighter than these new street lights and probably closer to the ground.
Talking of strange things, I've noticed recently that Laddie the Beagle dog thinks I'm talking to him when I'm on the phone and there's only me and him in the house.
Recommend a podcast.
Let's recommend a podcast. Recommend a pod, and this week it's The Warriors Podcast with Barry Dodds and Hayley Ellis. Two stand-up comedians, Barry Dodds and Hayley Ellis, fighting with their anxieties, fears, OCDs and general bad thinking and getting distracted a lot. Features all the bickering, laughing and caring of a long-time friendship. Have a listen.
This is the Shorter Than Short Mike Kelly podcast.
If you want to get in touch with this top-rated and sometimes much-listened to podcast, please connect and get in touch about anything to do with the Shorter Than Short podcast. We're on most social media sites at MIKEDJKELLY. Indeed, if you want a podcast making for your business or need help with radio producer or presentation work, travel news, voiceover work, please do get in touch. Do tell your friends about the podcast. All they need to do to find it is search on Google for the Mike DJ Kelly Shorter Than Short podcast.
Yabba dabba dabba doo, it's the Mike Kelly Shorter Than Short podcast for you.
And in the late news, colours in the news, pink does more than you think, and the big orange sale. Gary Lineker says FIFA have always said they don't want to get involved in politics, but now they've given President Trump a peace prize. Nina Jar says, since 2015, West Streeting has accepted £372,000 from private healthcare links. This should be illegal for a health secretary in charge of the NHS. There's a clear conflict of interest and raises concerns regarding propriety and integrity. Who is the health secretary really working for? A disability rights campaigner from Glasgow has rejected a top honour over the intolerable state of affairs for disabled people in the UK. Tressa Burke, who leads the Glasgow Disability Alliance, had been named in the New Year's honours list and was set to be made an MBE. However, the campaigner has said she will not accept the award due to concerns of how the UK government has treated disabled people in the most recent budget announcement. I wonder if there's a list somewhere of everybody who's ever refused honours. For the second year running, Mubinol Hock kept Liverpool's Portland Fish and Chips open to serve free meals to NHS staff, carers, emergency key workers, elderly residents, vulnerable individuals and anyone spending Christmas alone. We give back because it's part of our belief, our religion, he shared. Since we don't celebrate Christmas, instead of closing, we thought why not give back to the community.
This is the Shorter Than Short podcast with Mike Kelly.
Final burst from the social media sites. Otto English, US chicken is chlorinated because America has no animal welfare laws where poultry is concerned. It has to be chlorinated because of salmonella and E. coli runs rife. The EU banned that practice in 1997 and as such the UK has among the highest welfare and standards in the world. Otto English again. Your fact of the day: the US Centre for Disease Control and Prevention estimates that 1 in 6 American citizens suffers of foodborne illness annually. In the UK, the figure is 1 in 132. Andy Folsom: I remember the fall of Edwina Currie in 1988 over salmonella in eggs and the changes that came after that. Clearly, the US hasn't moved on in over 30 years and would drag us back to that level. Peter Smith, BBC Laura Kay and Chris Mason, observing the situation in Venezuela will be like a chimp looking at the wiring diagram for a 1989 Ford Sierra. Anon a pin. There should be more recognised collective nouns for professions. A calamity of politicians, a kindness of nurses, a tosspot of lawyers, and so on. Joe Wolfe: I don't believe any country has ever been invaded for its offshore wind turbines. John Moynes: eggs boogie woogie are served with ham and a Jules Hollandaise sauce.
I'm sorry, Mr. Kelly. You are out of time. You must stop now.
OK, it's time to go. Guess the song or name the group who had a hit with the song these lines came from. The morning sun, when it's in your face, really shows your age. But that don't worry me none. In my eyes, you're everything. I laughed at all of your jokes. My love, you didn't need to coax. It was Rod the Road Repairer Stewart and Maggie May. Guess the celebrity. Born on the 17th of December 1946, he was raised in Suffolk and Shropshire, educated at Adams Grammar School before working for radio stations in New Zealand and Australia. He returned to the UK in 1971 to join the BBC, initially working for BBC Radio 4 as a continuity announcer and newsreader, and then joining BBC Radio 2 in 1972, also reading the news and announcing, as well as presenting a number of music programmes. He left BBC Radio 2 in January 1976 and joined BBC Radio 1 in May of the same year. Between 1976 and 1993, he worked at BBC Radio 1, presenting the station's weekday mid-morning show for most of the time. He was a regular presenter of Top of the Pops, and he was the first presenter of BBC 2's Food and Drink programme in 1982. Who is he? Simon Philip Bates. Simon Bates. Today's do-gooders are turninglivesaround.co.uk, and guess what? It's been a blast. No, it hasn't. It's been a hoot. But that's enough of this Politicians Are to Blame for Everything edition of the crazy Shorter Than Short podcast show. From me, Mike Kelly.
And me, Joyce. Are we going to the pub now? This is finished.
Thank you for listening. Please take care out there. And remember, you can always find the podcast by searching or shouting the Mike DJ Kelly Shorter Than Short podcast.
Yabba dabba dabba doo, it's the Mike Kelly Shorter Than Short podcast for you.
This is the Shorter Than Short podcast with Mike Kelly.
Sorry, but it was Mike DJ Kelly. What did you expect?